Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while, mostly because I have been dumping money into all the other toys, and I haven't had any issues with the truck, but today we're back with another Duramax video. We're going to be changing the thermostats in the truck today. Haven't had any real issues with the truck, and like I said, I've been putting all my money into the toys, so until recently. I have a feeling it's been going on for a little while, but I believe I'm dealing with an engine overcooling issue. It's only been brought to light recently because we're finally getting some freezing temperatures at night, short commute. The truck just isn't getting up to temperature. It kind of hasn't been for a while. It's caught my eye, but as of lately, like I said, the last couple weeks, I'm actually throwing a P0128 code. So I think we're going to start with something simple. We're going to change out the thermostats. If the truck was running at normal operating temperature and I was still getting that code, I'd be more inclined to think the engine coolant temp sensor, but that's not the case. So yeah, let's get these things changed out. So if this is the case, this would be the first time I've ever actually had one fail in the stuck open position, but it certainly can happen. It seems like 90% of the time I've ever had one fail, it's always been in the closed position. I start dealing with overheating issues. So I'm dealing with the Duramax thermostats because AutoZone is 2 minutes from my house. That's literally the only reason. So I don't know if you guys can make it out. These are your part numbers that we'll be using today. So if you guys haven't done it before, you've got two thermostats in there. Get your gaskets with the kit and the two thermostats. Now you'll notice one is taller than the other. The way these are oriented into the truck, this is to the front of the truck and this would be in the back towards the cab there. This should be a relatively quick, simple job to replace these, and of course you've got your gaskets that'll go on here. So anyway, I'm gonna get the truck in the garage here and let's tear into it. And had I looked in the bottom of the box and pulled out the paperwork in there before that little clip, I would have found the instructions right here that tell you just that, the larger one in the front, smaller, shorter one towards the rear. Pretty self-explanatory, but these gaskets just go right around the edge there. See, there's a slight groove right inside there. Slip those on there. Just like so. Now they're ready to install. So if you've never messed with this before, your thermostat's going to be right down in here. This is your thermostat housing right under there. So we got to move a few things to dig it out and get to it. It kind of plumbs into this hard line, goes into your upper radiator hose. Over here you got two bolts holding the steel clamp down over here. We may have to release these to get to that bolt down there. I've got a couple other things in the way here. Obviously this clamp is going to have to be broken loose for me or I'm never going to move that. It's way too tight. The first thing I'm going to do is pull the belt off of here, get the tension off of that. We'll remove everything here and we're going to just lift the AC compressor out of the way. I've actually seen guys do this job without doing that. Just seems like way too big of a pain in the rear for me. I got fat stubby little fingers to try and work in there. For the couple minutes it's going to take to pull the compressor just up and out of the way, it'll be time well spent to give me the space I need to get my hands in there to work. Let's get the tension off there. You can just slip the belt right off of the compressor there. You got four 15mm bolts right on top of the compressor here. We'll get those broke loose. I believe these, I'll double check, I believe they're 37 foot-pounds when you torque these back on. I probably should have said it to start with, at the risk of stating the obvious. I wouldn't exactly do this on a hot motor for obvious reasons. Don't forget to disconnect everything. Once you got it there, we can just kind of lift this thing up and out of the way. So as you can see, now we got the compressor out of the way, we got much better access to get our hand in there and get those thermostats in and out. So now I'm going to remove, you got 12mm bolt here. Like I said, we're probably gonna have to unclip these. You got another one right on the other side of this clamp over here. I'm not gonna disconnect this little hose in the back here because I'm not pulling this out completely. I'm just going to lift it up, articulate it enough ideally to get my hands in there and get the thermostats out and the new ones in. So I'm gonna go ahead and start breaking these loose. Again, you've got 12mm bolts all around the housing here, and the torque spec on those is 18 foot-pounds. Now this is kind of that situation where relocating my fuel filter put a few more things in my way for this particular task than probably what most of you guys have to deal with. However, it's still manageable. Well, in the course of my digging around, I've discovered somebody was lazy and didn't put that other bolt back in there. So I don't have a bolt back in there. So this is now loose on that end. But what the rest of you guys are gonna have to do is remove these, unclip these, pull them out. You're gonna have to unplug both of them to access the other bolt that's right under there. And these just kind of unhinge and pop right off. Like I said, I'm not gonna pull them off since I don't need to and I'm in a hurry. But yeah, you guys are gonna have to get to that other 12mm bolt on that clamp right under my finger there. So this is an LNMM motor. Not sure if they're all the same, but once I got this bracket loose, discovered I got one silly 13mm right here holding this thing to the shroud. Kind of a pain to get to with your hands there. Get that out of there and I should be able to get all this menagerie out of the way. Alright, now with that out of the way, we can access the remaining couple of bolts here. If you guys have never messed with this before, this little guy here is going to be your bleeder if you ever need to refill or bleed the coolant system. So now we got all the bolts out, everything loose. We're just going to kind of pry up on this. I'm going to lose some coolant in here for sure. You can see, just kind of pry this up out of the way. I don't know if I get the camera down there. We've got access to the thermostats. Two thermostats out, two thermostats in. Now we can start reassembly. Don't forget, as you're going back together, torque all these down. Like I said, 18 foot-pounds. Torque spec on these, it's not super tight. Don't over torque them. That isn't going to be good either. So again, while I have access real easily here, you guys can see I've left the little bleeder screw out of here while I'm adding coolant. We're just going to kind of add it on close until you see it coming up out of there. Just about there. There we go. And then we'll add the little bleeder screw right back in there. Then we can continue to top off the tank from there. Just kind of make sure you got air purged out of the system there. You know you've got coolant down to the thermostats. press or wrestle back into place. Don't forget to reconnect everything. And torque to 37 foot-pounds. Now we can wrestle our serpentine belt back into place and fire this thing up. We're gonna let this thing run for a little bit, hopefully start getting up to temperature. I just want to kind of check, keep an eye on things, make sure there's no real obvious leaks. We'll take this thing out for a drive, and Lord willing, it'll get up to normal operating temperature, and this will solve our issue. Just got back from a little test drive. Gonna go ahead and call this job a success. That is the warmest this truck has run in several months, and it's a pretty cool morning. I'm sure it would get up a little bit higher if I drove it a little bit longer, but just kind of wanted to make sure that it would get past where it's been getting. So yeah, and so far everything looks dry under the hood. Like I said, I don't see any leaks. Everything looks good and dry under here. Everything seems to be sealed well, so we'll just kind of keep an eye on that. One of the things I definitely recommend after you've cracked the cooling system open for any reason or another, after it's heated and cooled a time or two, definitely recheck your level. Make sure you might probably have to add a little bit more to it. Keep it where it needs to be. Now, looking at the old thermostats out here on the bench, you know, there's really nothing remarkable to point out here that I think the camera would notice or pick up, other than, let's see, I'm gonna zoom in on it. I don't know if that'll focus or not. That right there says China. So these have obviously been replaced before, and yeah, so I'm not surprised they failed. Anything that fails that's got that written on it, it doesn't surprise me. So anyway, hopefully these last much longer. Hopefully some of you guys find this helpful. Like I said, I haven't done any Duramax videos for a while, mostly because there hasn't been a need. And this is a relatively minor job and repair, and for about $42 and a 2-minute trip to the store. A little bit of my time to get them swapped out. We're back in business. Thanks again for watching, you guys. Stay tuned. As always, don't forget to hit that like button. We'll see you on the next one.